Dear children, in India's history, social and religious reforms occupy a very important place. Today, we shall discuss about the social and religious reforms that took place in India in 18th and 19th centuries.
The Christian missionaries had come in India to spread Christianity. They used to criticize other religions and persuaded people to adopt Christianity. They also established many educational institutes, hospitals, and orphanages for the poor and needy. The Hindu and Muslim leaders tried to defend their religion and prevent the spread of Christianity. This resulted in many debates and discussions. The Europeans had already introduced the printing press, so the common people could now easily read all about these debates and other issues related with the country through newspapers and books. Books written in Sanskrit, Tamil and Telugu were being translated into English, and now whole world was becoming aware of the rich culture and tradition of India. Several European scholars studied the ancient literature of India. They translated them and published them in books. These scholars were known as Orientalists because they studied the books of Eastern countries.
So, this was the time when East was getting influenced by the ideas of the West, and the West was getting influenced by the ideas of the East.
Samaj was founded by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born in 1772 in West Bengal. He was a great scholar of Sanskrit, Persian and English language and also knew more than a dozen languages. He is regarded as the father of modern India. He had studied the philosophies of several religions and believed that God is one. That is what every religion says. He published his ideas in various books and magazines so that he could reach out to more people. The movement was started on 20th August 1828 by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He opened a place for public worship, Brahma Sabha, One God Society in Kolkata. The main aim of those who followed Brahma Samaj was to eradicate all inequalities from the society. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was also instrumental in the abolition of the Sati Pratha, a practice in which the widow was forced to sacrifice herself on the funeral pyre of her husband. After the death of Raja Ram Mohan, Brahma Samaj movement was led by Devendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen. In 1867, Prarthana Samaj was formed in Bombay. It was started by R.G. Bhandarkar and M.G. Ranade, who were influenced by the ideas of Keshav Sen. Kandakuri Veerasalingam also started social and religious reforms based on Keshav Sen's ideas. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa was a popular saint of India. He had a strong faith in the existence of God. He regarded every woman of the society, including his wife Sarada, as Holy Mother. Swami Vivekananda was one of the prominent disciples of Ramakrishna, who later formed the Ramakrishna Mission. The aim of Ramakrishna Mission was to revive and reform the Hindu religion and to engage in social work and social service for national reconstruction. Swami Vivekananda was a devoted disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He delivered an inspiring speech at the Parliament of the World's Religions at Chicago on 11 September 1893, where he introduced Hindu philosophy to the West. But this was not the only contribution of the saint. He taught how a nation with people of different castes and creeds and color can be bound together by a feeling of humanity and brotherhood. He wanted the Ramakrishna Mission to set up hospitals, schools, orphanages and help the poor and needy people of the society. Dayanand Saraswati was a reformer and believed in pragmatism. He preached against many rituals of the Hindu religion such as idol worship, caste by birth, animal sacrifices, and restrictions of women from reading Vedas. He was not only a great scholar and philosopher, but also a social reformer and a political thinker. After his death, his followers in Punjab set up the Dayanand Anglo-Vedic School to educate children in modern subjects. They also set up Gurukul Kangri University in Haridwar. Just like the Hindus, the Muslims also were struggling against the orthodox practices in their religion. Most Maulvis or Muslim priests were opposed to the Western education.
The Muslim reformers wanted the new generation Muslims to understand, read and adopt Western education and change with the changing times. The most notable of the Muslim reformers was Syed Ahmad of Uttar Pradesh. He was highly impressed by modern knowledge and worked all his life to merge it with Islam. He also warned against narrow-mindedness and rigid customs of the religion. He asked the people to be broad-minded and tolerant.
The liberal, social and cultural movement started by Syed Ahmed Khan among the Muslims is known as the Alikar Movement as it started in Aligarh. The Anglo-Oriental College was the center of this movement. It aimed at promoting modern education among Muslims without losing touch with Islam. It became the central educational institution for Indian Muslims. He wanted women to be educated and advocated the removal of the parda. He was also against polygamy or multiple marriages by Muslim men. He established Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, MAO, in Aligarh in 1875 to familiarize the Muslims with the scientific knowledge of West and modern culture. Today, women enjoy most of the rights that are enjoyed by men. They have the right to be educated, to work and to vote. They have the same status as that of the men in the society. But 200 years ago, the situation was different. Women were not allowed to go for higher studies. They were married off early and people thought that their sole purpose of life was to rear kids and look after the husband and his family. They had no right to speak or move out in public without parda. They had no right over the property. Widows were either forced to perform sati or live a pitiful life. Because of Raja Ram Mohan Roy's efforts, sati was banned in 1829. Because of another social reformer, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, widow remarriage law was passed in 1855 which made the marriage of widows legal. Vidyasagar also fought against child marriage and polygamy. He also set up many educational institutes for the girls.
Dear children, the leaders of southern India were also trying their best to bring in the new age of social and religious reforms.
Kandakuri Veerasalingam was a renowned scholar and a talented intellectual who stood strongly for several social causes like widow remarriages and abolition of child marriages in Andhra Pradesh. He fought for women's equal rights and strongly opposed casteism and superstitions prevalent in the society. For his great and noble contributions, he was also known as Gadya Tikana amongst the people.
Children, only men were not working for the social and religious reforms. There were some bold and brave women also who stood for the rights of women and brought about the desired change in the society. Not many of us know of this great lady who was the first female teacher of the first women's school in India.
Savitribai Phule championed the cause of education of women. Despite being an illiterate, married at the age of 9. Savitribai Phule found a mentor and a supporter in the form of her husband Jyotirao Phule. She also worked towards the upliftment of women by eradication of untouchability and by giving them the best means to fight for themselves, education. After the death of her husband, she became the head of Satya Shodhak Samaj and worked for social welfare of the people in her area till her last breath. Pandita Ramabai, 23rd April 1858 to 5th April 1922, was an Indian social reformer, a champion for women's rights and education. She was a great Sanskrit scholar. She was also known as Pandita Ramabai Saraswati in recognition of her learning. In 1889, Ramabai established the Mukti Mission in Pune, a refuge for young widows deserted by their families. Ramabai also started Sharada Mission for the education and vocational training for the poor and needy women. Many Muslim women like Begums of Bhopal and Begum Rokeya Shakhawat worked for the rights of Muslim women. They opened schools and encouraged the Muslim girls to get educated and speak for their rights. As a result of the efforts of these ladies, several schools and colleges for girls were opened and they went on to become doctors and teachers.
Children, you are very well aware of the rigid caste system that existed in India.
The people of higher caste like Brahmins did not mix up with the people of the lower castes like Shudras. People of lower castes were treated badly. They were not allowed to enter the houses, not allowed to get education, draw water from the wells and even go inside the temples. This system changed under the British rule when the Christian missionaries came and opened up schools where everyone was given admission, irrespective of the caste, creed and color. Jyotiba Phule was an important social reformer of the 19th century India. He bravely fought against the casteism in India. He revolted against the domination of the Brahmins and advocated the rights of peasants and other low caste people. He believed that education of the women and lower caste people was the only solution to combat the social evils. Therefore, in 1848, he, along with his wife, started a school for the girls. In 1873, Jyotiba Phule formed the Satya Shodhak Samaj to liberate the people of lower castes from the suppression of the Brahmins. Narayana Guru was a Hindu saint and social reformer of India. The Guru was born into an Erava caste that was hugely mistreated by the people of the upper castes. He led reform movements in Kerala, revolted against casteism and worked on propagating new values in his own caste also. He believed that there is only one caste, one religion and one God for all. Bhagya Reddy Verma was a great social reformer. He was also known as the father of Dalit movement in Andhra Pradesh. Bhagya Reddy Verma founded around 26 schools in and around Hyderabad for Dalits. In 1906, he started Jagan Mita Mandali to educate Dalits. He also launched a movement against Devadasi Pradha and forced the Nizam to declare it a crime. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi encouraged the women and people from the backward section of the society to come forward and participate in movements like Satyagrihas, non-cooperation movements, SNIT untouchability campaigns and salt Satyagrihas.
Taking part in such movement led to a tremendous increase in the confidence level of the women and brought them into the mainstream of Indian public life.
Dr. Ambedkar was the main architect of the Indian Constitution. He was born in a very poor, low-caste family of Madhya Pradesh. He studied in USA and went on to become a professor of law. Dr. Ambedkar practiced at the Mumbai High Court, and he was the main inspiration behind the inclusion of special laws for the development of scheduled caste people. Dr. Ambedkar was the Law Minister of India from 1947 to 1951. He raised his voice against the social evils like untouchability and caste restrictions. He took part in the Satyagraha of untouchables at Nasik in 1930 and forced the authorities concerned to open the doors of temple to them. Dr. Ambedkar was savior of the untouchables and fighter for social justice. People affectionately called him Baba Sahib. He was posthumously awarded Bharat Ratna in the year 1990.
Hope you all have understood about religious and social reforms of our country. Goodbye and take care.